viewer is.
No, I got the subscribes and notifications. We're good for that. All right. Wow. We are what? A minute away?
1 minute away.
We have one person watching other than us. 5 viewers. Okay, 4 now. All right. Topic. We picked this topic because we were frustrated seeing everybody else talk about early adoption, and then all of a sudden they're off saying that the Coca-Cola has helped them or something like that. So we decided to come up with a topic, what makes an early adopter a marketing success, and hopefully have some serious answers about it and some participation with some people. So we're going to let anybody jump into a seat if they want to. So, Miss Bethany, you and I went to the same presentation last week. What frustration points or what things do you think are of interest as to seeing somebody that 6 months ago didn't even know about a platform and all of a sudden now they're an authority on it?
Yeah, since we do have viewers, woo, hi Blab. The presentation that Lauren and I attended the other week, the topic of conversation was Meerkat versus Periscope, the power of live streaming. And that's actually how we heard about Blab and decided to go ahead and try our discussion topic, be an early adopter, get in while this is still kind of in the early phase and see what this platform is like. The speaker didn't really answer the question of Meerkat versus Periscope. He just talked about how he heard about it, thought it was cool. So he joined it, started using it. And because he started using it and showed himself Meerkat live streaming with celebrities at different conferences, South by Southwest, Social Media World, he picked up more and more viewers and basically became a mini live streaming celebrity. He got Applebee's asking him to help promote their events because he was live streaming so successfully. And really, it's not that the guy knew anything more than anyone else about live streaming. He was just an early adopter, which leads to our question. So what was your question for me, Lauren? I'm sorry, I forgot.
The frustrating part is like, okay, to be fair to everyone that's talking about, we work for an agency, Standing Dog, and we're dealing with digital strategy every day. We have a whole variety of clients that we deal with, from hospitality, medical, legal, property management, so forth and so on. So we always look at things as a way to integrate a comprehensive way of getting our clients in front of the people they want to get in front of. And then we go over and say, holy crap, there's these people that because they took pictures with famous people and all of a sudden they were an early adopter, now they're an authority and they're being called up by Coca-Cola or GoPro or something as people that are trying to help other people get into the space. And we're sitting going, we're pretty good at that too. So how is it really truly an early adopter has the advantage over somebody that deals from a strategic point of view or not? So that's kind of how we're trying to approach the topic.
Yeah, I would say for some channels that have proven success, like Facebook has already lasted 10 plus years. It's kind of proven itself from its early days. So the early adopters for a network like Facebook, they're seeing success because the network's still around. But aside from like Zuckerberg himself, the people who were his peers at Harvard, they're not necessarily the same celebrity status or a marketing success just because they used Facebook. So there's kind of two types of success. There's the success of the platform. It's still around 10 years later. And then there's the early adopters. There are people, Twitter, I would say like what's his name, Kowalski. I'm not actually his biggest fan, but just because he is such an avid user of Twitter, he has found that marketing success because he was on the platform early, he figured out what was kind of working, and then he turned it into kind of a formula where I know if I share cute animals every single day and then post the weird internet trends, I'm going to get followers and a bajillion retweets. So I think there's platform success where the platform has longevity, and then there's user success where they are actually applying topics correctly and gaining their audience that way. But I still keep going back to the Meerkat versus Periscope. I feel like it's too early. This guy kept referring to himself as an authority, but it's too early to say who wins in that war.
DeAndre points out, Guy Kawasaki. You actually saw Guy Kawasaki present in San Diego, and everybody looks at Guy Kawasaki in a social sense and like, oh my gosh, look at this. The guy's reached critical mass and beyond, and he has this huge following. And you were kind of slightly disappointed with his strategy take on it. You were kind of saying, what? Go ahead.
Yeah, I actually thought he was an idiot.
Okay, I wasn't going to be that harsh on it, but okay.
I'm not going to be that harsh. I thought Guy Kawasaki was an idiot. He had a team of people. I honestly, because he was a success, maybe he is a genius because he was getting people just sending him the content, and all he had to do was reshare it and slap his name on it, and that would get him views. But man, you heard him talk. He didn't know anything about strategy or the technical side. He couldn't tell you an analytic from a banana.
I'm with you. Well, look at Takai, where his popularity, I mean, he's turned into this huge social platform star, and really he's now at this point just shoveling content back over. It's not even his. It's just because it's being posted via him that all of a sudden it has this notoriety of volume to it. The part I enjoyed about our conversation yesterday was that we were talking about the fact that, all of us have crashed parties. All of us have gone over and acted like we're supposed to be somewhere where we didn't, and so forth. And is that kind of that 80% of reality is perception really what's being said here? Like, okay, if I act like I'm supposed to be a part of this group, I mean, you give examples of you've been South by Southwest, and you got into one. Anyway, I'll let you talk about it. But that's what kind of got us spurred on with this. Is it perception that's really ruling this because nobody else is talking about it, or what?
Yeah, no, I actually agree with you on that point. I think there is a lot of perception, especially with social media. It's something that, as a social media strategist myself, we've always struggled as an industry with KPIs. So it does become a lot of perception. We understand the basic marketing concept of kind of the popularity effect. It's why a nightclub will have a line outside. The bouncer will stop people from entering, even if it's not at capacity inside, because they know that having that line creates more buzz. They create the perception that this is the cool place to be. This is where everyone else should be, and this is who they should be following. So yeah, I think perception's a big thing. DeAndre has a good point, going back to my hatred of Kai Kawasaki, but he does say it's one of those things where the guy is so far removed from actually doing day-to-day that he's lost sight of the work that's being done on the front lines. So I think that's another great example, not only early adopter, but even later adopters. Just because you've been on the platform from the beginning, you can't assume that's enough work. You have to stay involved with the day-to-day of the platform. So just because you and I are on Blab, this is the one and only time that we use it, that doesn't make us a marketing success. We have to figure out a way to make it part of our routine and part of our habit.
And a lot of it too is that when the questions we get on platforms, a lot of times is a matter of functionality, and people don't want to stumble through it. I think one good comment that was made out of the presentation last week was, everybody's first Periscope, everybody's first Meerkat was a mess. It was labeled test, and it lasted all of 10 seconds just for people to turn it on and push the buttons and see how did you start a recording, how did you record it, what was the comments made, or whatever have you. So, I mean, everybody's got to stumble into it. And I think the point that kept being pushed over and over and over was like, well, just get started. Just start doing the platform, and from there, develop some sort of critical mass. I guess, given that our audience is actually growing, anybody that wants to join in on this, like Tucker or DeAndre or Carrie or something like that, I'd love to figure out how to open the seat up, because we have 2 other seats that you're more than welcome to join in. Okay, Carrie. What a surprise. Carrie wants to join. That's awesome. All right, DeAndre, Tucker, y'all can join too if you want. All right, there she is.
Over here.
Hi, Carrie.
Hello there.
Carrie, can you introduce yourself to our viewers?
Hi, my name's Carrie Perez. I am a senior social media manager. So love the topic that you guys picked, especially as it pertains to digital strategy and social. And I think that's you're talking about perceptions, and I think that's one of my biggest issues oftentimes with these conferences or big speakers, and they're like, oh, just do this and it'll be amazing. And you're like, well, like, you already had a built up brand behind you, or you and yourself are a celebrity, and they kind of take into account this. They don't really consider that not everyone's a celebrity, and being an early adopter, it's a little bit different than kind of being like Facebook, where they've allowed you now to only celebrities get to be a part of like their conversations, and they have a whole new. Yes.
I want the Facebook Live video so bad.
Yeah, right. But they've kind of almost forced that element of these celebrities have that early adopter, but yet they're not really early adopters. They were just the only ones granted access. Kind of interesting.
And honestly, though, even though Facebook's only opened up their live streaming to celebrities, I haven't seen very many celebrities using it yet. I've seen a few kind of niche celebrities that are actually running their own channels. They don't have a marketing person doing all the work for them, which maybe says something about our industry that we need to do a little bit better about being early adopters. But yeah, the Facebook live streaming, it's actually a very great tool. I've seen very few technical difficulties with it, but not a lot of celebrities are using it yet.
No, it doesn't seem to be catching on. We do have a Collins Random Thoughts by randcom.com wants to chime in, so we can bring somebody else in if we want to see what other.
Bring in someone else.
Yeah. And here we go.
Lauren.
Here we are.
Well, yeah, Facebook live streaming, okay, it works. They are going to open it up to everybody in the next month or so. But in the meantime, there's always Nomadcast, which does pretty decent live streaming right into your Facebook wall. So then again, Nomadcast probably won't be long for this earth as soon as Facebook opens up their platform that much more.
I'm not familiar with Nomadcast myself. Want to tell everyone a little bit about it?
Honestly, I haven't used it enough to speak with any sort of authority on it. I know it works. It's not as popular as any of the other live streaming platforms, Meerkat or Periscope. But it functions in this one regard where the other ones don't deliver a functional solution, which is great, I suppose, for those wanting to target Facebook users. But then again, you build an audience as you build your brand, and you bring your audience where you go, rather than, as far as I'm concerned, seeking your audience on Facebook or seeking your audience on Twitter. You build the audience around your product, not around your platform of choice.
I think that's what's made brands like Red Bull and Coca-Cola a little bit more, I don't know, culturally acceptable, is that they really do embrace their audience and who their audience is and where their audience is located and the way that they want to be communicated with. So, kind of Facebook in particular, and even Twitter now putting a lot of money behind brands being able to advertise with them. But is that really necessary when you have such a diehard fan base already? And what does that say to kind of those big brands? Like, is that really necessary? Do you really need to be spending those dollars there?
No, arguably the advertising that one does on a social network is a function of one's presence on the social network and one's accessibility. It's brand awareness advertising, not you're not looking for sell through immediately there. So the Twitter move to be able to click to buy and so on, big fail.
Yeah,
and it's almost worthless.
I think that's the biggest challenge, especially with clients and some of those. They're like, well, what's my ROI? How can you tell? How are you going to show me that this directly purchased my product or directly booked a room? And like, well, you can't in certain ways. There's some things that you can do, but really, I don't think that the social platforms weren't meant to be selling things in the sense that it's kind of transitioned into this, but at the end of the day, people use it to communicate with each other, and the whole emphasis is social. I think content needs to reflect that. It's about sharing a culture together and sharing different social aspects.
It took 10 years for companies to realize that they can utilize metrics to determine their ROI for sales of product on the internet. So now they're being introduced to sets of platforms where they can't use those same metrics to deliver an ROI number, and they're once again confused. In 5 or 6 years, they'll figure it out. In the meantime, we get to pound it into their heads every day. Hopefully they pay us for it, but you never know.
Colin, quick question for you, just to go back to the topic that we thought we'd throw up, just to see what people are interested in. Do you think that early adoption has its inherent value for marketability?
Early adoption, the inherent value of early adoption is that the audience is not fragmented. You don't have vast amounts of content competing with your content on your selected platform. It's an equally distributed advantage, though. You're not seeing a moat. You're not seeing the durable competitive advantage. Because Warren Buffett is my hero. So you're not seeing a durable competitive advantage to being an early adopter who embraces the platform versus an early adopter who mildly embraces the platform.
Companies try to chase down the newest, greatest, and they don't really get optimizing the sustainable platforms that have shown the maturity of.
Well, you need to do both. You need to do both. I mean, the social media is such that there will be new platforms every month, every 6 months, and every year. And in those time frames, you need to adopt those new platforms, evaluate the new platforms, reject the ones that don't deliver for you, and embrace the ones that do on an ongoing basis.
Mm-hmm.
So it's not something you can throw a little bit of money at and then say, I've done it, and walk away.
Colin, if it's all the same, but I have somebody else that wanted to jump in. Can I swap you out, or Carrie, do you want to swap out?
I was going to head out, but okay.
This just jumped out. DeAndre, you wanted to join in if you wanted to hit it again and pop in and see what you're. There we are. We can swap out.
I don't know why I don't know why you just did that.
Oh, there's a little echo going on. Oh, we lost DeAndre. Oh my God.
Oh.
Anyway,
to join back in, I guess to echo, yeah, I would say with early adopters, I am looking at an interesting bell curve right now that just shows that most early adopters, they're only in the first 15% of people that join a network, and then an early majority is the next 35%. So honestly, before you even have 50% of people adopting the network as a whole, you already have a majority starting to jump in. So the early adopters don't have that much of a leeway or much time to gain that fame or marketing success before anyone else. I don't know if there's a way to do a screen share with Blab yet, so I can't really share the bell curve.
Sure, there in fact is. And here's your educational moment for this Blab. What are you on, Windows or Mac?
PC, Windows.
Okay.
I'm going to have John Carter join us too while we're doing this. It did somebody time it in, so we'll accept the caller coming in while we're doing this.
Oh boy. John's a good guy.
Oh boy, what?
It's like you're following me around, dude.
I am following you around, dude.
All right. Okay. So
every time I come into a Blab, you leave. I have to follow you around.
Yes, because I don't want to be. All right. I love you, John. You're awesome. All right.
How do we do screen share?
So we were talking about screen sharing. So
I know. I was waiting for you to turn it on.
So I was going to give a quick tutorial, but John is better equipped to provide that tutorial.
No, I don't have my computer set up.
Okay. Well, on Windows and Mac, there are what they call virtual camera packages. They do real-time inserts into live video streams, so you can do overlays. That's what you see here with my my Twitter and at Rancom. Now you can go in and change these things around quite easily. You can add different effects. Let's see, what can we do here? How about something interesting? How about
screen share? Can you?
I can do screen sharing, but I'm going to do something more entertaining for the moment. How about? There you go. So you can do very basic overlays like that. You can do animated overlays. You can do more useful things like a clock, and you can move them around and all this good stuff, right? But then what you really wanted to start doing are the screen shares where you can display your desktop. And I am going to demonstrate for you how to use CamTwist by using CamTwist. So first, we will look at my desktop, and then I will add a picture-in-picture webcam. Maybe. There we go. And reduce its size. Oops. And then move it up into the corner, one hopes. There we go. Move it over here, maybe. And so what we're looking at here is CamTwist. It allows you to set up any number of inputs, including the video sources from your webcam, VNC, which is a remote desktop application, so you can connect to a remote machine and access its desktop and display that content. Siphon, which is another video insertion mechanism. You can play movies, which I haven't had much success with, but you can also use different desktop features to display your desktop. Now, it's less interesting when you're looking at a desktop that is just your Blab window. So let's try this.
Can you zoom in and out, Colin?
Probably, but I've not messed with that enough to be able to do it in a live demo like this.
Because I know Bethany I saw the bubble go over her head.
Well, I think I missed where you even access the feature, but I might just have to.
The point is the feature exists. I mean, this is not the program that you would be using because you said you're on Windows, right?
Yeah.
Right.
Yeah,
So
exists.
Right. So CamTwist exists. It allows you to do these kinds of overlays. You can then go in and add other kinds of overlays and effects. You can do fun, obnoxious stuff like this, or and so on. But for presentation purposes, you really want a desktop, so you can launch Open Office and pull up your presentation and present it. I don't know that I have a presentation here, but no. Okay. We don't really want to start one that's going to be a pain in the ass, and I can't think of one that I want to show right now.
The Lamppost says Zoom It also is another option for this, I guess.
So there are others. There's Minicam for Windows. There's XSplit for Windows. There's Wirecast for Mac. Both XSplit and Wirecast are not free, but if you're doing this at any serious level, you're going to invest in something that's not free. John, you want to talk about Wirecast a bit?
So as soon as I eat this pretzel.
See, this is the problem with my not having the proper window open. I can't see what's going on. I just assume that you're instantly available to say something. Yeah, there you go. So we get okay.
Now I need a drink.
Yeah. So now I can go back here and set the webcam up. Of course, I still have my picture-in-picture camera. I can go turn this off. Yeah, right. Yeah, and I can.
I derailed us with the question about whether or not you could screen share in Blab. We were talking about the Blab topic of what makes an early adopter a marketing success, and I think that's around when you jumped in to give your 2 cents. If you wanted to share your opinion and why you knocked to enter.
We're talking about John?
Yeah, John, you were.
John's still working on his pretzels.
I feel like I'm at the movies eating popcorn, just watching you guys. This is fabulous.
Yeah, right. We do that from the bleachers, man. We don't come down on stage and do that.
You can't kick me out yet. Only
I can't
Lauren,
kick you out at all.
Lauren
Right, yeah.
That's the only key to the process of it. No, John, please add into the conversation. We were getting off on the divergence a little bit, but
Colin hates it when I talk.
No, John's a good guy. You wind him up and he goes and goes and goes, though.
Well, DeAndre had a good question. He just wanted to know what things have everyone here adopted that ended up being obsolete. I know for me, it's a lot of microblogging type platforms, everything from like Zynga and LiveJournal that were popular when I was like in high school. I don't think anyone uses those. They use Tumblr.
Well, LiveJournal was one of the first. It came out before Blogger came out, and of course, very few people use Blogger anymore. Mm-hmm. But these things are an evolution, and if you look at the way the industry worked, you have adoption of display advertising, adoption of product sales through websites. You then had publication of editorial content become a very big deal, financed through again display advertising, because now you had vendors selling product on these platforms. But at the beginning, the internet was made up of a lot of people's personal homepages that talked about themselves. And now we've come full circle where the biggest deal on the internet is social media, and where people have their own little page where they talk about themselves. And now we can do it in real time.
Yeah. You guys, I mean, not knowing either of you individually, but knowing that you obviously have been in the space longer than either of us, because you just showed us things of being able to be usable for. You're early adopters. I mean, is this helping convey a message or just an active level of participation? How do you guys, like with Blab right now, how are you guys using the early adopter value of this platform in ways that are helping what you're trying to do?
John?
So I do social media, SEO, website design. I own an agency here in Las Vegas. I do that for a living. I don't come here to Blab to listen to other people talk about that. I come here to meet quality people, and I've met more quality people here on Blabs in 3 weeks than I have in the last 3 years.
Wow.
I come here to develop relationships.
Earlier on, we were talking about the fact that it was a week ago that somebody talked about Blab, and we're like, oh, wow. So we looked at it, and we were just frustrated with the aspect that 5 months prior, they didn't know about Periscope, and then they turned into a early adopter success, and they got dragged in by GoPro and Coca-Cola and all these others. And we're sitting here going, well, is 80% of this just a perception of professionalism, like they know about it before anybody else? Is that the real market value to early adoption? Or is it the ability to interpret its use fast enough that it can be integrated into stuff like you're doing that's agency-based? Like, okay, now this is another tool into other things that I do.
So that's
it's certainly the latter. I mean, that's sort of self-evident. Could be self-evident. And like John, I adopted Blab because I was following someone on Periscope, and I wanted to check it out. I've been an IT consultant for 20 years, and actually, John and I have very similar stories in that regard. And so we got in touch on Blab, and it's been an interesting experience. My life is better for having met him, and I would like to think the same, vice versa. But
we blab and drink very often.
Yes,
that's what we're doing. We don't.
But you got to realize, right? Social media is social. It's not for selling. When you get people that hop on these platforms and they ask the question, what time is selling time? It's always selling time. No, it's not always selling time.
Did you see today? The Blabs are overrun with people selling stuff.
Is it really?
Yeah.
Yeah. And you get people on here that are marketing. Okay, we're marketing. We tell you what we do. If you want to work with us, that's great. You can get in touch. You know, I can build IT infrastructure to rival anything that you're ever going to need in any industry at any level. You know, from building a data center, from the groundbreaking to deployment of cloud infrastructure. But you know, that's not what we're here for. If people want to hire us to do that kind of thing, that's great. But it's about meeting people and learning about them and learning about their perspectives on the world.
So
if you need to hop into if you need to hop into a Blab session and talk about why are you here, and then they go into my personal brand is X, Y, and Z, but first of all, that's not selling. One, and second, it's not interesting.
Right.
And third,
so I'm going to play devil's advocate though, because Colin, aren't you doing a little bit of self-selling because you do have your brand on your picture? You put your
No, that's not my brand. That's my Twitter handle that you can see in the upper left-hand corner of the screen. I did that because I wanted to play around with CamTwist. I mean, if I wanted to put my brand up, I would go back into CamTwist and do something like this.
Oh, now you pissed them off, Bethany.
I said I was just playing devil's advocate. I wasn't
right. Okay. So
if you go to a dinner meeting, right? You say, hello, how are you? What do you do? Tell me about your kids. You know, all that kind of stuff. You don't just pop in and say, here's my ebook. Buy it now.
Right.
It's the same advice we give about any social platform. It's like walking into an audience, a stadium, and you hear the rabble of conversation, but you don't have any identified conversation. You join a small group. You see if you can contribute to that group. And if not, if you're interested in the group, and then you move on if you're not. It's not meant to go where we don't walk up, as you say, and say, hi, my name is such, and I sell this, and I can give you a great rate on it. It's like, it's not the purpose. But to a certain degree, to play the devil's advocate value of it is to say, on the platform there is Mirror. We want to discover relationships, but those relationships are based not necessarily just on friendships, but in potential business opportunities as well. So what is the way that you can use this type of platform space to convey a message that's sincere, but not oversell the fact that you're there for purposes just other than meeting new people?
It kind of happens.
Nobody wants to deal with a person who's just there to sell something.
Yeah.
I mean, you don't want to. Yep. You use the platform for meeting people, and if you meet people that want to buy something from you or who want to sell something to you, well, that's fine. That's how the world works. You got to realize that these platforms have evolved over many years, over 20 some years now, to the point where this is no different than if the four of us were sitting in a bar somewhere chatting.
Correct.
Right? We could have an audience in a bar just as easily as we have an audience here. But the fact is, the same social mores apply to sitting in a bar as sitting here. No shirt, no shoes, no service. Rudeness is not acceptable.
Chat roulette, from what I've seen.
Okay, chat roulette is not the same thing.
I have to be on another Blab.
Try to now. If you want to really have fun on chat roulette, try to go sell something to someone. I'm sorry, John. I didn't mean to.
No, he had to jump off. He said he apologized.
Oh, okay.
But our open seat for the viewers if anybody else wants to jump in.
But if you really want to have fun on chat roulette, get someone on there and try to sell something to them. That'll really keep you busy for a while.
It's true. It's true. But again, to the point of agencies and people that are in the space, people do it wrong by saying, I got to sell something or introduce that as their starting conversation point. And eventually, if you do develop a rapport with people, people ask what you do. And, oh, well, by the way, I might need that. Or you know, somebody that I know that I need to talk to or something. But the concept is like, for us, we're looking at this as like, we have stuff to share. There's stuff, we have questions. It's like, hey, like we had, is early adoption a measure of marketing success? You know, is that the way to get into these platforms and turn into the authority of it, and then it be called on by companies that want to jump into the space because it's the newest, trendiest thing to do? And we think that it's more to the point that you agreed with, which is the second, which is how can this tool be used as a combination to everything else that's being done for businesses to succeed without it being invasive?
Yeah. I think, early adoption is useful from a practical standpoint because the audience on the platform is small enough that you can build your little fiefdom quickly. But you don't build it by hopping on and selling something because that just ain't going to work. You can build yourself up as an expert, but then again, if you start proclaiming yourself an expert, it's sort of like saying that I'm running the classiest presidential campaign ever. You know, it just doesn't work out. So it's a matter of being there, and that's all that's required. Be there, understand it, and when someone needs you for something, they'll find you. Mm-hmm. And if they don't need you for something, they're not going to seek you out, and that's fine. I've run my business for 20 years without ever advertising once. For right now, I actually don't have a website at pinnacledigital.com. And when I did have a website there, all it said was, we're too busy to worry about our own website. It was literally that text. If you want to if you have time, go check it. Or what was it? Let's see. We're too busy helping our clients to worry about our own website. If you want to take a look at our clients, here they are. And we put some links and just basic text links up to our clients. And at the bottom it said, if you like what you see here, send us an email. Mm-hmm. And it was great. It was the best SEO ever, by the way, because there was nothing cluttering up that page whatsoever.
Well, it kind of goes back to the old school mentality that word of mouth is really, at the end of the day, the best recommendation possible for business transfers. But, I mean, like I say, going back to the question we first thought about, and thank you so much for adding to it, is that what makes an early adopter a marketing success is to not abuse the channel for what it was originally intended for. It was meant to be a medium of exchange. And if you're true to the concept of sharing and learning and not trying to overemphasize, like, business modeling or sell or whatever, then you're probably going to be a success at it because people are going to look at you as being the authority because your engagement level is so high on that platform.
Absolutely. Use it, don't abuse it. You abuse it, you'll be rejected, and you'll be, you won't be able to claim yourself as one, as an authority, because people look at your track record on it, and it'll be readily obvious. Now, the big problem with a lot of these platforms is social connectedness has replaced karma, or a reputation system that the style of which used to exist on a lot of major content management systems, where if you go back and look at some of the sites that used our software, Daily Cows, the first, let's see, Hotel Chatter, Jaunted, Vegas Chatter, Talk to Action, a lot of these sites, Talk Left, a lot of these sites utilize the reputation system that allow for user rating of each other's comments.
Look, turn the page.
Yeah.
Sorry?
Oh, I think your computer somebody's computer made like a.
The computer made it like a digital one.
Oh no, I'm sure that was one of the 18 million devices I have floating around the house that look at me. Whenever I get a notification, it comes in 5.1 surround sound. So my point was that reputation systems are very useful, and they existed in most of the earliest CMSs. You can get them and plug them into WordPress and Ghost and the more modern CMSs. But the social connectedness metric seems to have replaced the karma or reputation metric, which is not really a reasonable thing considering the level of interaction, textual interaction, especially here where we have lots of comments from lots of people, which could be rated quite easily. The only rating system we have right now are stars. Well, 1 star. Okay, you need to be able to rate comments up and down so that you get a meaningful you get a meaningful metric when operated at scale. Once you have that, then you have a much more valuable reputation statistic than you do otherwise. And as a social media influencer, you can point to this and say, look, this is what we do, and this is what people think of what we do. And rather than saying, I have 18,000 followers, and that makes me awesome.
Right. No, you're right. The measurement's not there when it comes to it. It's all arbitrary. I mean, do you base it just on the numbers of engagements? Do you base it on the number of people they're following? And that's so, I mean, people can mock those up at any time. I mean, early on, people used to, until it started hurting their marketing metrics, used to be able to add in tons of followers just by buying them. And now that people realize that counterproductivity of that and all. But we have Tucker and DeAndre as well on the other call. They've been trying to get in for a while, but I guess it was technical issues, but they're there.
I know. Since Blab is new, I'm trying to figure out how to. You can't like search on the app, which is weird.
No, that'll come. You can search on the website though. It'll show up in the app probably in the next few updates. They'll be adding search. I'm sure.
Cool.
But it'll be coming relatively soon, I would think.
Yeah.
If you go to the homepage on a web on Chrome, you'll see on a laptop you'll see the search mechanism, which is still in its infancy. You can't search hashtags particularly easily. You need to use the hex code, which is off the top of my head. What is it? %23, I think, is the percent sign or the hash, the pound sign. That's not right. Okay. Someone in comments will remind me. Well, actually, this is not a technical blab, so maybe they won't.
Creative problem solving, joining together on the same webcam. So
yeah,
made it.
But anyway, I'm sorry, I didn't mean to monopolize things.
No, it's been a fun conversation for us. It's we wanted to throw the question out because we wanted something tangible. Back to our original point, we wanted a tangible conversation that wasn't about sell or do you believe that the sun's going to crash into the earth or something. It's more of like saying, look, we have this idea of early adoption has some metric of value for success based on the people we've come across. Is that a valid point to make, or is there contention to the idea? So.
Well, I think you need to first define success.
Client acquisition was the one that first came to mind. When you got Coca-Cola knocking on your door because you 5 months ago found out early before anybody else that you could play with a toy that turned into something profitable.
Oh, okay. So this is a success as an agency adopting a technology and then pitching it.
That was
okay.
the original.
As opposed to success for the brand as Coca-Cola is our customer and we have used this new platform to elevate Coca-Cola's stature by doing X, Y, and Z as an early adopter.
Potentially too, but from the people that we talked to, when they first do the presentation, and it's not so much they've been in the space as it was they found this app while someplace else, and they were the third person that had it, and they took a picture of the guy that started Meerkat, and they took a picture of Guy Kawasaki with them, and because that allowed them to have the presumption that they were an early adopter leader in the concept, then all of a sudden companies wanted to know who was the person that knew about it the most, go hire them and have them come in and be the person that guides what we do for whatever purpose the brand wants to have done.
It would be more valuable if these companies realized that if you're an early adopter, you don't need to prove it.
That's a very good point.
Yeah, and I think that's how it should be.
Again, it's like saying I am the classiest person on Blab. You know, I mean, you get laughed out of the room. One hopes.
Yeah, well,
if you don't, that's a bad thing.
But there are companies like Clout. They founded their whole success on people proving that they were successful or that they did.
Yes, but notice their success is waning.
Yeah,
significantly. It was a great idea, but they didn't take it far enough, and they didn't evolve it as the social media platforms evolved.
Yeah. Tucker, DeAndre, you guys have been quiet since you joined.
Yeah, it's hard because we're trying to keep it low since we don't have to. I guess we could share an earbud.
How romantic, guys.
I know. We don't want to disturb.
Actually, we're at the 40 mark anyway, so.
It's like the modern day Lady and the Tramp.
Yeah.
Yeah, there you go.
I'm the lady, obviously.
Get a little closer together, guys. So there you go. Get your both faces in the screen. There you go.
Well, I guess, Colin, DeAndre, Tucker, Bethany, if there's anything else we'll wrap up with. I mean, I thought, here's a question for you, Colin. What you've seen so far with Blabs, what's an average time that you see the Blabs run for before the beginning?
Well, if you saw so Bethany Mertz is the community coordinator, an employee of Blab that manages community interactions. She sends out a little mailing every day or every couple of days discussing the newest happenings on Blab. Today's mailing went out and said, Blab, place where 4 hours feels like 4 minutes. And it's true. It's a highly addictive platform, and they designed it that way, and they successfully. So your average Blab, people get on and figure they're going to talk for an hour. And if you don't look at your watch, you'll be talking for 4 hours, 6 hours, 8 hours. I was on a Blab that was started by a guy who was trying it out for the, second or third time. And that Blab went on for 10 hours, like 10 and a half hours.
Wow. From
6 a.m. Eastern until 3:30 or something.
Wow.
Are you listening?
And
I don't know if I would have run that one that long. I just figured it'd be like, with podcasts, we do a lot of podcasts. Like,
I know Lauren talks that long, but I couldn't. I couldn't sit around for that.
Well, that's so. This gets to the key point of Blab, right? This is the power of Blab. You don't need to stand there and talk for that long, right? If you're dealing with Periscope or Meerkat, you're up there and you're on the entire time. You need to be talking, conveying your message, engaging with your audience by reading their comments really fast because no one can really get them otherwise, which is really aggravating because you can't scroll back. But you're the only one there. You're the star, and you need to keep up the engagement, keep up the energy for the entire time that you're running your show. On Blab, not so much. You're spread across 4 people. 2 or 3 of the people can sit back and say nothing, can monitor the comments, which is actually one of the key things that you want to do when you're participating in a Blab. The people who aren't speaking should be monitoring the comments, looking for interesting questions that the commenters have and relaying them. That way the conversation is allowed to continue without much effort or pain.
Yeah, I would say,
or awkwardness.
Kind of going back to something you said earlier, Colin, just about to be a marketing success, it's not even being an early adopter, but just how genuine are you when using the products. And I think from my experience with Periscope and Meerkat, I do like that there are several of us in this Blab conversation. So I have been able to respond to the comments and keep up with what people have been saying and pop them into our conversation. I do kind of struggle with the multitasking though, because I'll be laughing at the comment and you're saying, or Lauren saying something very serious. And I'm like, oh no, I hope they don't think I'm laughing at them. It's just this comment was hilarious.
Well, that would be much more of a problem if there were only two people in this Blab.
Yeah.
True.
So, there have been plenty of cases where I've been chatting about something and someone brings in a point that came in from the comments, but they clearly hadn't been listening to what I was saying. You can't get offended at that. It's like this goes back to this being a discussion among peers that where we've met up in person and are sitting and chatting about something. Okay, sometimes someone gets distracted, isn't paying attention. Okay, that's not a huge problem. Now, if you look back though to the history of these sorts of social platforms, you see the evolution of netiquette, right? Which is one of those great buzzwords from 15, 20 years ago. So in IRC or Internet Relay Chat, there was the concept of netiquette or internet news feeds, which was basically email mailing lists adapted through for that purpose. There was netiquette. There were things you don't say. There are things that you don't start what they call a flame war, an argument, for the sake of arguing. But as these platforms evolve, the etiquette merges into the same etiquette that you would have in real life. I mean, pay attention to the person who's speaking to the extent that you can. As the person who's speaking, don't just monopolize the conversation. And so I'm going to stop in a moment, and so on. I mean, it's very basic, common sense sort of rules that can be applied because the platform is so evolved, and it's akin to a real life interaction. So yeah, be genuine. Don't be always selling, and you'll do fine. Yep. As far as being the advantage of being an early adopter, it's all about the volume of people on the platform. And as an early adopter, what you'll see is, oh, gee, this platform doesn't have enough of an audience to make it worth my time to do this. Well, then you're an early adopter. Congratulations.
Yeah, we're very limited, but very specific audience. Yeah.
Right. Exactly.
Well, I'm good with pretty much. It's been fun. 46 minutes, 70 minutes or so. It said we want to give it a first attempt with a topic that was of interest to talking. Colin, I'd love to be able to come across you again and other labs as we do stuff. And now that I follow you, I'll try to catch up with you as you pop around, stalk you a little bit or something, and hopefully we cross paths again. We're going to try to do this a little bit more regularly, just to try to have, as long as we have a good topic to bring up, we want to bring it up.
Absolutely. Now, you'll notice also that there are a lot of people who run or are trying to put together Blab based talk shows, sort of, where they'll gather some guests and have a scheduled recurring event. And that's one really effective strategy. The other really effective strategy is just to wander around and pop in on conversations and have your say, which is my preferred method.
Do you think that's holding true with Blab, that people are following the topic lines that are the options, like, oh, this is general, this is marketing?
So what you'll find is that Blabs are like any other conversation. Like I said, in a bar or anywhere else, they evolve and the subject matter changes. Now you have the option. So here's some Blab training for you. You have the option to change the topic at any point, and it's recommended that you do so as the conversation flows. So people who are looking on the homepage see what the new topic is, because they're loading the homepage for the first time, and they see, oh, well, there's this Blab about X, Y, and Z. It may have started about a Blab about A, B, and C, but now it's X, Y, and Z, and it's something they're interested in, so they hop in. Now, if you really want to be obnoxious about it, you set a really controversial topic, and then bring up your own subject, and just let people come into the really controversial topic and hope you manage to suck them in anyway.
Well, that's why Donald Trump listed a few topic headers for their business.
Oh yeah, absolutely. That was that 10-hour Blab that I was in. The accidentally 10-hour Blab started as a Donald Trump Blab, and I thought I would come in and tell a few Donald Trump jokes and then be on my way, but I was there for like 8 out of the 10 hours. So what I was going to get at was, yes, you can change the topic. You can do so in the upper left as the moderator. You can edit it. There's a little edit button in the upper left for you. The rest of the video participants can also change the topic by entering /topic space and the topic that they choose to change it to in the chat window. There are also other / commands you can use, /q for adding a question. So if commenters want to draw attention to their question and make it easier for those of us following the comments to pull out your question, you can type /q space and the question that you want answered. Also, you can @mention people in the comments, and right. So there's a question indicator. You can @mention someone, meaning if you were to enter @randcom in a comment and then say add your comment to it or reference me in any portion of the sentence of the comment. It would pop up to me and be highlighted, in this case in purple, but it would be highlighted. If I were not in the Blab, it would also bring it to my attention. If I am a Blab user, it will pop up as a Blab notification, and I'll be aware that someone has summoned me to this particular Blab, and I might pop in and say my piece. Or if I'm not running Blab at the moment, you can see @mentions on Twitter, of course, which is also useful. So so several things you want to do when you manage a Blab. One, make sure that the topic has some vague resemblance to the subject that you're actually discussing. Two, when you change the topic, make sure you tweet that new topic. There's a button that says "Tell Little Bird," and so the easiest thing to do is have all the video participants do that at least, and some of the chat participants might do that. But as a video participant, your Twitter handle will show up in the tweet as it's generated automatically. You can edit the tweet as part of that process, but the automatically generated tweet includes the Twitter handles of all the video participants. So you can notify all of your followers who on Twitter who are interested in your brand or your product.
So the hashtagging is still valuable because it will get pushed up when you tweet it out. Is there any hashtag value?
Yes. So hashtags in titles, yes, they're valuable because it shows up when you tweet it. But then again, if you hit "Tell Little Bird" right now, you'll see that you can edit that to whatever you want. You could add a hashtag or remove a hashtag or add a person or whatever it is you want to do. So now the only problem with hashtags right now is you're not able to easily search using them within the Blab search functionality. You can just as easily search for them within the Twitter search functionality, and Blab will fix their functionality quite quickly. The other thing you can't do with Blab search right now is it allows you to search for active Blabs or scheduled Blabs, but it does not allow you to search for people, which is quite irritating. Unless, of course, those people are in an active Blab at the moment you're searching for them, which is not a good criteria to work from.
And I think DeAndre mentioned he was having trouble searching for a Blab from mobile as well. But
yes, so the search functionality does not exist in mobile yet. It will. They're pushing new updates to the mobile app every day or so, and it'll show up in the next few days, I'm sure.
And I'm just going to bring it back full circle to go back to early adoption. The ability to tweet using hashtags, the easy at reply, and short codes and Blab. I think some of these, just the overlap with Twitter is part of what's going to make Blab actually take off as an early adoption function.
Right. Well, I mean, Meerkat tried the same thing.
Other social networks.
Meerkat tried the same thing. They were working with an onboarding process that utilized Twitter authentication, but what they did that pissed off Twitter was to try and tweet everything that went on in Meerkat. Every message that was sent through Meerkat was duplicated on Twitter, so you were effectively spamming Twitter with your Meerkat conversation that related to a video that the people on Twitter couldn't see. Mm-hmm. So that was considered to be bad form. And that, and of course, Twitter was working on their own in-house video platform that would directly compete with Meerkat, that being Periscope. Excuse me.
What?
So yeah, it's. I guess the key thing to being an early adopter is if you're on a platform and you see that it doesn't have an audience that you think will make it worth your time, the first question you have to ask is, what is their growth profile? Are they accelerating at a pace that will be acceptable to you in 6 months? If so, then be an early adopter. Work out how to use it to your benefit. With a small audience that you have. Don't expect an ROI from that workout process, but in 6 months, when the platform is at a scale that you would find valuable, then you're properly positioned to make use of that value.
Well said. I think that's a good closing note.
I was going to say that closes up what we wanted to talk about. Let's go know where we want to get to the conversation. That's awesome.
Well, thanks for having me, and I've got to go scrounge for some dinner, actually.
Excellent. Well, thank you for all the advice and information. We do hope that we come across you in the not too distant future.
Absolutely. Have a good one.
Thanks.
Thanks for sending this.
Bye.